I mean, would you say that psychological harm is not bad?
Look, I'm asking you to justify the claim that rape is bad. Go on.
I understand, but if you don't feel like psychological harm is, if you
I
feel,
don't
if
care
you don't
about
feel like
feelings. I
psychological
don't care
harm
about
is
feelings.
bad, then I don't feel like why I should have to explain
I
why
don't
it's
care about
bad.
your feelings. I don't care about your feelings.
Michael is not the one
Okay.
that has the burden of proof here, is the point, right? Like,
You
what
said
he
rape is
thinks
bad.
about it's irrelevant.
Okay, well then,
Rape
what
is bad.
and
That's
what is
look. Rape is bad. That's the conclusion. Now give me the premises
Sure.
and the inference rule that gets us there. Your go.
Okay, the conclusion rape is bad operates on my understanding of what bad and good is, right?
Rape is bad. What's the argument?
Rape is bad, right? That is subjective, right? That is my own subjective understanding, right? I'm telling you subjectively why I believe rape is bad.
So you're just emoting?
Unless, are you wanting to have the argument like why bad is bad or what is bad?
Yeah. What is bad?
Okay, well, then if you want to have that argument, just have that argument. But if I'm giving you my own subjective conclusion that rape is bad, then I have to operate within my framework of understanding of what is bad.
No. What's the argument for that?
Because it causes psychological harm. It causes physical harm.
Well, that's begging the question. Why is that bad? Why is psychological harm bad?
I don't have to explain why psychological harm is bad. I believe that it's bad. You want to know my.
So you made
a
a claim. You made a claim that rape causes psychological harm, and that is bad. What's the argument for that?
Well, psychological harm can manifest itself in many different ways afterwards. They can pass it on to their children. They can take it out on their spouses, their loved ones, their people who have.
Do you know what the naturalistic fallacy is?
Why don't you tell me?
Well, you can't appeal to some descriptive statement about states of affairs in the world in order to generate an ought or some sort of like moral responsibility, right? So there is no statement about the external world that imbues on you as an agent some sort of obligation, right? So when you say bad,
Correct.
like rape is bad, and then when I ask you why it's bad, because bad entails oughts. You ought not do which is bad, right? And I ask you, why is something bad? And you start making descriptive statements about the world. That's called a naturalistic fallacy.
Okay, because it's harmful. How about that?
That's begging the question. Why is harmful bad?
I really don't understand why this needs to be an argument. I mean, is there anybody here who disagrees with that?
You got to provide an argument.
No, I'm asking, is there anybody here who believes that psychological harm is not bad?
Well, I mean, we don't understand what you mean by bad. That's why we're saying you're begging the question.
What if I'm intentionally creating the harm?
To the progression of humanity.
Yeah, well, Jim, what if I'm intentionally creating the harm because I like it? Would I think it's bad?
To the progression of humanity.
Well, that's different, though.
No.
I'm saying it's not. I don't think it's bad.
But you are forcing your will and your desire upon somebody else. That is bad. Again, you probably think I'm begging the question. That's my own subjective opinion.
Of course you are. Yeah, you know you are. We don't need to tell you that. You know you are.
I'm aware that I am, but it's silly that I should have to.
You're aware that you're begging the question?
What?
You're aware that you're begging the question, and yet you think it's silly that we're asking you for an argument?
Yes, it's silly in that nobody has said that they agree that they disagree with that. And if nobody disagrees with that, then I don't understand why we have to operate.
We don't know what. Look, nobody knows what we're disagreeing with. Like, what do you mean by bad?
I've already told you it is not conducive to the progression of humanity.
Why would that be considered bad?
I mean, it would be considered bad. I mean, I wouldn't consider it objectively bad because there could be somebody who is a solipsist or somebody who just wants humanity to end. So to that person,
this
then
is
yeah, I
called,
guess
this is
subjective
this is
understanding.
this is G.E. Moore's open question argument, and that is to say that whenever somebody makes, go ahead.
No, go ahead and finish.
Yeah, so G.E. Moore, I think it's G.E. Moore, like has a like whole thesis about what it means for the good to be, like what the good is, right? What he posits is that what the good is always an open question because the good can never be defined, right? And
Sure.
if you ever try to reduce the good to some sort of like descriptive facts about the world, right? That's just going to be begging the question, right? Like the cake is good, right? But if the cake is 97 degrees and that's your description of the good, it's always going to be a meaningful question of like why the cake being 97 degrees is good. That's always going to be meaningful.
Right, but say that somebody has an argument for why a 98 degrees cake is good. Say that it's the optimal point for the melting of the sugars or the icing or whatever reason that they have.
It's begging the question.
Okay, so how could somebody approach that? How could somebody answer that? Why a 98-degree cake is good?
Well, like I don't think that a 98-degree cake is good. I think that there is a delicious cake that could imbue some sort of like obligation for you eating it. There's some property of a cake being delicious that it's in virtue of the cake being delicious that you ought eat it.
Isn't that begging the question? What is delicious?
No, I mean it's just like what do you take delicious to be?
Well, I say to be delicious, it's about what you said that it's delicious. So is there some objective standard for what is delicious?
No, it's irreducible.
It's completely subjective, I would say, right?
No. I mean, well, there's two ways to go down about this, right? There could be like what makes a cake delicious could be some sort of like some property of the world, like external to the person who's perceiving it, right? Make it mind independent. So like that cake could be like good, even if that person in some like modal sense didn't exist, right? That could be good to them. And that same cake could also not be good to somebody else. It's just going to be like a causal relationship. But that would be dependent on a property of the external world.
Well, the cake itself is a property of the external world.
Well, the cake is external to the cognizer, sure.
Sure.
What's the objection?
Well, that the cake itself is part of the outside world, part of an external manifestation, if you will.
So let me ask you something.
Sure.
Let me ask you something. Is the cake good?
I don't know. I haven't had the cake.
But wait a minute. You have a sense of the good, right?
Are we talking about morality? Or are we talking about like
it doesn't matter. It doesn't. What do you want to talk about? It's up to you. What do you want to talk about?
Well, if we're talking about cake, like we're saying, is the cake good? We can be talking about has it expired yet? Is it we could talk about does it taste good? We could talk about
these are descriptive facts about an object,
sure.
which you could never receive some sort of obligation out of, right? So when you say like the cake is good because it hasn't expired yet, well, that's begging the question against what it means to be good, because good entails ought. Are there instances in which I ought eat an expired cake?
No, not that I can think of. Well, yes.
If somebody's
actually,
holding a
yes.
gun to my head,
Yeah,
head
that's
and
yeah,
telling me,
sure.
oh, okay, there you go. Sure. Right. So in
Or if
virtue,
you were starving and that was all that there was.
so it sounds to me like what makes something good, right, is properties that are external to you that you can't
Well, no,
control, that you
I
go
would
out
say
in the
that
world and discover.
I would say that they have a general that we have a general that we can generally agree on what is good or bad, but that all of these good or bad things are
Why does our agreement? Why is our
hang on, but it is circumstantial.
so truth is relative? That's a weird thing to say.
No, no, truth is
That's
not
what you
relative.
just said. Look, is it true that the
Well,
cake is desirable?
no.
Oh, what if I find it desirable?
Then you find it desirable. But
Sure.
that is not an objective. But that is not an objective property of the cake.
What's the argument for that?
That a cake being what was the word that you used? Good or delicious?
Yeah. Good. Is the cake good? And you said no.
Okay. Sure. Well, I
But
would
I
say
find the
that
cake
is
to be good.
sure. And that is your subjective opinion.
No. You said it's false that the cake is good.
Yes, that is correct. I was assuming that you were trying to apply some sort of a
In
objectivity
virtue of
to
what
this.
is the cake? In virtue of what is the cake not good?
I would say that the cake is not objectively good and it's not objectively not good. I would say that that isn't a subjective property.
So you don't think that like good has any meaning? So if I say the cake is good to you, it just there's no fact of the matter, right?
I think good can on a colloquial level, on a societal level, for example, but I don't think that we can apply any sort of objectivity to it. I think that it can be subjectively objective.
Subjectively objective.
What does that mean?
Yes.
What the fuck?
So in other words, like we can agree as a society that cannibalism is bad, that it is not conducive to the progression of our species.
Nope.
Yes, we can, and the fact that we have laws against
What is
it
bad?
kind of lends credence.
What is bad?
Not conducive to the progression of society or humanity, whatever
Well,
you want
that's
to
a
call it.
utility. Okay, so like, you're saying not
I am a
conducive.
utilitarian.
Anything. Yeah, sure. You're a utilitarian. So anything that doesn't progress, right? The society, right? Like it seems like you would have to argue for why anything that we currently do that you consider good to also be conducive to society. So what's the argument for like booger picking?
I don't have a moral stance on booger picking.
Okay, so is there anything like, do you understand, like, we're asking you what the good is?
Sure. Okay, is like, for example, I would say that that to cure homousness is good.
Let me ask you something. Wait.
Curing famine.
Wait, hang on. Look, I think I found a better example.
Okay.
What art do you consider to be good?
What art? Oh, I like all different kinds of art. I couldn't narrow it down. I think art in general is good.
Is there a really bad rap artist that you don't like? Say boat music, like Lil Yachty, right? Surely you hate Lil Yachty.
Yeah, absolutely. Hate Lil Yachty, XXX Tentacion, all of them. All the mumble rappers.
Okay.
I can't stand them.
Yeah, right. And what makes it bad?
Because it deviates from what I know traditionally to be hip hop or rap.
Yeah, but Lil Yachty makes a lot of money, right?
Sure. Yeah, he makes a lot of money.
Yeah, he's an economic giant, right? He's progressing society.
I wouldn't say that
Oh,
he's progressing society because he's not investing that money back into the. I
How
mean,
do you
he's
know
he's
that?
sitting.
How do you know that?
seems like you're shifting the goalpost, stud. Do you have a definition of
Also,
what the good is, or do you want to
I
keep
just
moving the
I've
goalpost?
already said it several times what I believe
No,
good
you made a
is.
utilitarian argument about like what progresses society, right? I just offered you a
Oh,
case in
okay.
which Little Yachty was progressing society. Now you seem to be
No,
backing
you
off
didn't.
of that.
You didn't say how he was progressing society. All you said that he was rich.
Yeah, but like progressing society, like he's offering some sort of like economic benefit. He's producing content
How?
that benefits.
How is he? But how's he offering economic benefit if he is rich, and you're not offering anything about him putting his money back
Wait
into
a minute, wait a minute. Is he
back
producing
into the
content?
economy?
Is he producing content that has
Yes.
earnings? Yes or no?
Yes.
Okay. Then he has some sort of economic benefit. To who would be the next question, right?
I mean, no, not really. I guess
Okay,
the
then if
taxes
not to who, then
would be a contribution.
it seems like I have met your standards that Little Yachty is morally good.
No, no, not at all. The taxes
What
that he
makes more
pays are morally good.
wait. You said an economic or a benefit, what makes society progress, right? What's those standards?
Sure. Taxes,
What is that?
right? In this
Wait,
case,
taxes are
it
good?
would be
Taxes are
taxes.
good?
In this case, it would
Taxes
be
are good?
taxes.
Well, wait a
Yes,
minute.
they progress
Wait a minute.
society.
Like it sounds like you're saying that there's like some sort of like conditional element, right? But I thought you were
No,
arguing for
no, but
something being like good
we have to look at
categorically.
we have to look at we have to look at end results here, right? It's not Lil Yachty's music that is helping society, right? It's the actual
Could
taxes that
be.
he pays. Now there are some rappers who offer something more. They offer a voice.
Wait,
They offer
Look, I'm asking
and
you what the
but
good is, and now you're talking about Little Yachty, right? Like
it could be.
it seems
you
like
brought
I'm
up
trying
Lil
to
Yachty.
draw parallels. Yeah, I did, and I'm asking you, like I think Little Yachty is good, right? Little
Why?
Yachty is good categorically.
Well, you
Why?
could say that his music, him making music, progresses society because some benefit to listening to music.
Right.
You
Yeah,
could
but
just say
again, it's
that
He
Lil Yachty.
completely missed that point.
him doing like meet and greets progresses society because of some like social relationship, whatever that goes on.
Okay. Okay. Well, again, what is good and what is bad is completely subjective.
You're the person that's supposed to be answering. No. Don't burden shift. You're the one that's supposed to be answering the question, what is good and what is bad, without begging the question.
Okay.
Jim, come
So,
on, bud.
okay. Well, ask me a question that I can answer you.
What
Examples and I use
is
frameworks that I have to
good?
operate within.
What is good?
That which positively progresses society.
Why is that good?
Because we want to progress, right? That as a society, like that is
I don't want to progress.
what we have done
I don't want to
for
progress. Are you kidding
hundreds of
me?
thousands of years is progress.
I don't want to progress. What are you talking about?
You don't want to progress?
Fuck no. Fuck no.
Then what? Then why are you here trying to improve the arguments?
No, I'm asking you to provide for me some sort of like explanation of what the good is, right? And it seems like whenever you
I've given it to
describe
you
it,
several.
wait a minute. It seems like whenever you describe it, I'm able to say, why is that good? And it demands an explanation every time. That's what the open question argument is, Jim. You can never
Can you
accurately
expand it?
describe the good.
Okay, we started off talking about rape. Rape is bad, right?
That's a question begging statement.
Is it not what we started out with? What we started out at? Like, I feel like we've gotten
What's
a
the
little bit
argument?
off.
What's the argument for that?
That's what I'm saying. I feel like we've gotten a little bit off base. Can we like get back on to the original?
Yeah,
argument?
let's get back onto that. What's the argument for that?
The argument for what?
Why rape is bad?
I feel like I gave that argument.
Yeah, what's the argument?
Rape is bad because it brings suffering to another individual.
Why is suffering to another individual bad?
Well, it would be up to that individual to decide that it was bad, right?
No. Why is it bad?
Wouldn't?
Why is it bad?
It'd be up to that individual, right? Some people might say psychological reasons. Some people might say personal reasons. Some people
so bad is subjective? Oh, so bad is subjective?
No. I'm saying that what people bring from that experience is different from case-to-case basis. Would you
so it's not always bad.
Okay,
then.
so no, yeah. Well, wait, hang on. Wait. Hang on. So bad is not subjective, right? It just depends on subjective shit. So what is the objective sense in which something is bad? Jim, by the way, you've been a really good sport. I appreciate it, but if you want to explain it, I would love to continue to talk to you.
When something is undesirable, right? Because by human nature, for the majority of us, pain and suffering is undesirable.
Anything that's desirable is good, correct?
Pleasure and happiness, yes. That with that,
that
does not cause someone else suffering.
Wait. Rape always involves two parties, right? And the rapist is wanting and fulfilling a desire of theirs. So in virtue of what is that bad?
But they are bringing suffering upon the other individual.
That's
which violates.
Look, why is that bad?
It is bad because it's undesirable for them.
Yeah, but no. Wait a minute. Is there somebody, namely the rapist, that wants to rape somebody? And when they do, are they not fulfilling their desire?
Yes, they are. But at the same time, if they are bringing...
so that's good, right? That's good on your view, right?
Hang on. Yes, please hang on, though. But if they are bringing something that is undesirable to another person, then that is bad. It is not bad to do something that brings you pleasure unless it brings displeasure to someone else.
But that's begging the question. Why is that bad? Again, look, your view... Wait. Jim, stop. Listen. Your view of the good, right, is that somebody is meeting a desire, right? And then when I provide you an example of meeting a desire causes harm to other people, you're like, well, there's this caveat, unless somebody else is harmed, right?
No, that has been my stance since the beginning.
Right.
That is what you.
I'm going to ask you, right? But yeah, okay. And I'm going to ask you always, why is that bad? You can be utilitarian, consequentialist. I don't give a shit. Why is that bad?
I'm not a consequentialist.
When you say unless, wait, and when you say unless it causes harm to somebody else, I'm going to say, why is that bad?
Well, if somebody else sees that action as undesirable, like for example, the victim sees it as undesirable, it is not for me to say why they feel it to be undesirable. I believe rape is bad because altogether there are undesirable.
Listen,
people find the victims find these experiences to be undesirable.
You're confused, right? Because people do this shit all the time, right? Like, do you know what a safe word is? People want to be caused harm all the time in like sexual encounters.
I understand. And if they want it, then it is not bad.
Well, then if it's not bad, what are you complaining about?
Okay, if they want
you now have a vacuous definition of what it means for something to be good.
I don't. If they want
to be
so
let's further define
it. Rape is non-consensual. rape is not
No,
consensual.
wait.
You can call it
But
rape,
you
but it
talked
is
about
rape
harm.
play.
People
You can let me
want to
finish, 'cause,
be
like, I haven't
caused
interrupted
harm.
you. You keep interrupting me. Like, you keep interrupting me.
Well,
I'm not
you are
interrupting
now.
you.
I am interested. Listen, Jim, I am interested in your definition of the good. Okay, that's not vacuous. You have the floor. All yours.
Why don't you explain to me how my definition is vacuous?
I can
to,
help.
Well, look, I could just find an example of somebody who like wants to have harm, right? And you're like, well, that's not bad. And I'm like, but wait a minute. In this scenario, it like this person wanted to be harmed, right? And this was how you described the good to be. So look, until you provide some further definition, you're just talking shit.
Sure.
Jim.
Okay, here we go. Ready?
Come on.
Are you ready? Okay, rape is something that happens between one person who is forcing something upon a non-consensual party. Therefore, this rape play that you're talking about, these scenarios where people want to be raped, that is not rape as it is consensual. It can be called rape play or whatever you want. You can call it rape.
I don't care. I don't care. I don't care about that. Why is rape bad?
So I can maybe it would help just but so when describing what the bad was, you mentioned that it causes harm or increases suffering or it's not consensual or whatever. But then Michael gave some counterexamples, and then you agreed that those categories were not relevant to whether something was good or bad, because in certain cases, it would be good to do an action which had some of those properties. So he's saying that what you were giving as a definition was vacuous because it amounts to it's good if it has these properties, unless there's a situation where those properties make it not good, in which case it's not good, something like that, where it's just basically some contradictory
unless they
definition.
unless they pose something that is undesirable to somebody else. So
that's begging the question. And like good things are good unless they're not good. That's what you're saying.
But when we're talking about that begging the question is when pleasure, like you can't say that pleasure is not begging the question. Then when I talk about something undesirable, then calling that begging the question, like that's a little hypocritical.
Are you begging him to stop?
Look, I am not the one who's conflating pleasure with the good. You're the one doing that. Okay. So let's get clear on that.
I'm just talking about pleasure.
Then if you're not, then define the good and distinguish it from the bad, Jim. Come on, bud.
Pleasure is still pleasure is still subjective. I would argue that pleasure is even more than good.
That doesn't matter. I'm asking you to offer why pleasure is the good. Look, I can think of pleasure that also causes harm. And on your view, it's contradictory. It's not the good.
No.
Because it's also the bad.
Not. No, it's not. If pleasure causes harm, then like I've said that. Like pleasure, if it brings you pleasure, it's good unless it brings something that is undesirable to somebody else.
Why, Jim? Why?
Because I don't believe that people should have things that are undesirable to them imposed upon them.
Why, Jim?
Because it's undesirable, because they don't want it.
You're begging the question again.
No, how the fuck am I begging the question?
It's undesirable, and what makes it bad is it's undesirable? What
undesirable,
the fuck, Jim?
Wait, what?
It's circular reasoning, bud. Why is something bad, Jim? Because it's undesirable. Well, why is it bad? Because it's undesirable. Well, why is it bad? Because it's undesirable. Why is something that's undesirable bad?
Because I believe that forcing your will upon somebody else unless they desire it, is bad.
Look, let's say somebody could benefit. Let's say somebody could benefit from fucking vaccines that they don't want, right? They don't want it, and yet it's forced upon them, and they benefit from it in the sense that they don't get polio.
It doesn't matter if it's undesirable to them.
What do you mean it doesn't matter? What do you mean it doesn't matter? This is the good on
Wait.
your view.
Wait, is he saying
No,
that
no, it is not.
vaccination
Again,
is
I just
bad?
said that if it's undesirable, like holy fuck, stop straw manning my view.
If you don't want to be vaccinated, it's bad for you to be vaccinated?
No,
that your
it's
view?
bad for you to force something that's undesirable upon somebody else.
Right, but
No,
it's-
that wasn't your position.
right, but if somebody doesn't want to be vaccinated
Yes,
and they are vaccinated like without their consent or whatever the case, you're saying that that's bad.
Okay.
Wouldn't say
Yeah.
that that's good.
Subjectively, it's good to me, but it is not good because it forces something that is undesirable on somebody else.
There's an objective good that you're appealing to? You said subjectively it's not, but
I mean, I can only use my good and bad as a standard, right?
yeah, and what is that standard?
I feel like I've given you the standard like so many
No,
fucking
you've
times.
been begging the question. You've been begging the question from the jump, Jim.
No, if you want to understand what I really don't understand like what you don't understand about my position. Can you just explain to me what you don't understand?
I don't understand what you.
I
said.
want to
Hold on,
know
I don't
why something is good. I want to know why something is good, Jim.
Okay, do you not understand why non-consensual rape is bad?
Give me a non-question begging argument for why something is good, Jim.
Okay, but I guess I don't have one.
All right. Thanks for playing.
Yeah.
Sorry, I can't be mean to you, but
Maybe
it was
next
good though.
time,
Like you're like, no, I am. So the idea is that like you can't make normative claims by like describing something, Jim. Right. So the idea is that like let's say that you and I find a cake good, right? Like the cake, like we started off with this, right? And the cake has chocolate. It's like some sort of like Belgian chocolate. It's a certain
We're talking about morality,
viscosity.
though, right?
Yeah, sure. Yeah. So like there's a
Okay.
certain viscosity and like it's really good. It's visually pleasing. There's some aesthetics to it that we really like. And then like let's just when somebody comes up and says like, why is that cake good? And we like describe the properties to them, right? There's nothing in that like that we can't say that that's the good, because what the good means doesn't always contain those properties, right? Like it's not always good that something must have a certain viscosity or temperature, right? Like when my wife tells me I love you, that is good, but it doesn't have viscosity or temperature, you know? And we can always ask, this is the call. But that's right. That's right. So you can't apply these sort of criteria broadly to why something is good. And like if you were ever to say like, look, the cake is like X amount of viscosity, I could always just say, why is that good? And that would always be a meaningful question. That's the open question argument. So what you can't do is say there are X, Y, and Z properties of the external world, and that is good. Because what the good necessarily entails some sort of like action on your part, right? Like good means you ought do the good, but why ought you do the good? It's you ought not do the good because you ought not eat the cake just because it has certain viscosity.
Well,
right?
What if I was like theological necessity where, well, God says that cake is good, therefore cake is good.
Yeah, sure. You could do a divine command theorist thing, but then you could always like kick the can down the road and say like, well, why ought we do what God says? You know what I mean? And then we're like stuck.
God's no, not really. You can say, well, God's sovereign. It's not for us to understand why he does what he does or why
That's
he
not a
says.
meaningful response.
Yeah, that's not an.
Why couldn't you say that with respect to the cake, there's some descriptive feature of the cake that explains why it's good, and yet when it comes to something about your wife, there's some distinct descriptive feature that explains why that's good. So you could have various descriptive features that explain why something is good in different cases, but it's not a necessary condition that you have any one of those features.
Sure,
Well, is
I
it-
agree.
But is it necessary that I argue for the objectivity of the goodness?
No. What that's to say, like, so the idea that I'm putting forth here is to say that there's some like property in the item external to you that is causally efficacious to your finding it to be good.
I see. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
Zach, did you want to come back on that? Because I'm ready for the troll, I guess.
I don't know. I was just commenting on one specific thing you said earlier.
Can you restate it? Like, did you find something wrong with what I said? Because I want to like come back
You
on
were
it.
saying something like when you have the cake, there are various descriptive features of it, like its viscosity, its aesthetic pleasingness, and so on. And you said something about how you can't link the good to those descriptive features because your wife might do something that's good without having viscosity or something.
Right. Correct.
Yeah.
You could think
So,
that there's
so what
various-
feature? So like, well, what feature could objectively be seen as good that is external?
pleasure.
Well, right.
Well, no,
Yeah, well,
not
that would
even
be
that.
one. But it would be external to you.
Yeah, but not even
That's
pleasure, right? 'Cause
not even
everybody-
necessarily objectively good, because there are a bunch of religious beliefs that say pleasure is actually a
Yeah,
Correct.
exactly. Like,
so
well, why
they
is
wouldn't
pleasure
they
good?
wouldn't agree that pleasure is good.
Well, like it would be pleasure in some sense. Like there would be some sort of like causally efficacious thing, like deliciousness, for instance, is good, right?
Yeah,
But,
no,
like,
there
if there
are
was something
religious
like-
groups that would say that deliciousness is bad.
Correct. Yeah, no, I agree. Right. That's what
Right,
I'm
'cause,
saying.
like,
Like
deliciousness
you,
leads to like gluttony or something like that.
sure, right?
Or,
Like there
well,
would be
usually it's more like deliciousness distracts you from higher truths, right? So physical pleasure of any kind distracts you from higher.
I'm not-
Oh yeah, that's why the Jewish food
What I'm-
sucks.
the
I'm
serious
not sure it's
Buddhist or
plausible
Taoist.
I'm not sure it's plausible that these religions view pleasure as bad.
Well, that's the entire purpose of being
Well,
a Buddhist monk is to
that's not
avoid
really
pleasure and
necessary
worldly
for the-
distraction.
Yeah, I mean, the religion is really not even
Well,
necessary for the argument.
let Zach finish his point, please.
Because they might be saying something like they could admit that pleasure is good in some respect, for example, with respect to how it feels, but that it can enter into certain situations where all things considered, pleasure is bad. But I think everyone can accept that. So you might think pleasure is good with respect to how it feels, but if you're taking pleasure in someone being brutally raped, then all things considered, that instance of pleasure might be all things considered bad.
Right.
Right, and that's
What-
also if we don't
Well,
take
but that
into
supports the
consideration-
idea, Zach, that like you can't get like you that supports the idea that there is such a thing as a naturalistic fallacy. Yeah.
Right, but I think in scenarios like that, though, we have to take into account both participating parties in that.
Right. Which
Because
means there's no
it's not just
categorical,
one
right?
person. Right,
It
but
doesn't
we
matter.
have to
You can't make a
take into account-
description. What I'm saying is that you can't make a description of the external world because it will always be meaningful to ask why we value that thing.
I see. So, any instance that we could say that rape is bad and be able to defend it without having to resort to that the open-ended question.
Well, like, look, if I were to like, why is rape bad? Like, it's just with respect to some values that I have, right? Like, I'm assuming some
Sure.
values, right? Like, I also think that rape is bad, right? Like, I'm not the type of dick to sit around here and fucking defend rape. You know what I mean? But like,
Sure.
like it's always meaningful to ask, like, well, why is that bad? Why ought we not do that? And it's ultimately going to bottom out in some value judgment, which is fine.
Right, but
And so when I was ghosting you on the value judgments, and I was saying, like, it just sounds to me like you're just like whining and stamping your feet or whatever, Jim. All I was saying is that, like, these things bottom out in something that there is no empirical fact about, right? Like, it was appealing to most people's intuitions, like these like white belt bullshit appeals to naive empiricism, that there's no fact of the matter. But fuck that. Like, who cares if there's no fact of the matter, right? Like, all you're doing is stating your values. You don't want other human beings to be harmed. Well, why? Well, for some, value that you could, like, expound upon, while it might be meaningful to always ask, well, like, why is that valuable? You could just say, well, like, look, that's just these are my values. All I'm doing is being like a hard skeptic about, like, moral propositions. That's what I'm doing.
I see.
Or some could argue that you're using the pitfalls of relativism as a sort of bludgeon, because it's just in the nature of the room to, give those kind of arguments a hard time, and that you both could have easily agreed from the beginning, from the get-go, what it is that would be considered beneficial to the the progress of a society and stuff like that, and continued.
Yes, right. Like, and he was correct in saying, like, it would depend upon our agreement about, like, these things. But, like, all I'm doing is playing like the uber skeptic and saying, like, look, why should I value that? Why should I value that? And the thing is that no sum of descriptive statements is going to get you, like, a prescription for how you ought behave. And that's why, like, there is such a thing as, like, the naturalistic fallacy. Just because, like, chairs are purple doesn't mean you ought sit on them or something. You know what I mean? Like, there's going to be some, like, external factor that, like, you have a preference for sitting on purple chairs. Well, if you have that preference, then you ought sit on that chair. It's going to be constantly dependent on that external thing, right? Like, your beliefs and desires are what makes oughts more. Your beliefs and desires and those demands that the external world places on you are what make you a moral agent.
What makes you say that it's the outside world and that there's not some sort of objectivity that we are born with, but that we can deviate from due to psychological external implementations that crosswire us, so to speak?
So I'm running back to my room right now to grab my charger because I'm at 5%. If it dies while I'm gone, let me know. But so the idea is this, right? Like, I would just, like, if somebody posited, like you just did so eloquently, like, well, perhaps this is a position, and I agree that, like, that could be a position. I'm not persuaded by that position, and I need an argument for it. You know what I mean? So, like, I would want to hear, like, what is the argument for that? That there exists some sort of, like, objective morality that's, like, mind independent, not just moral properties, but there are, like, prescriptions, right? Independent of properties that exist. That is what demands an argument.
Got you.
Oh, fuck! I'm dying. Fuck.
Well, that doesn't sound morally bad. No.
No, like, it would be objectively good.
No. I mean, other than you coming off as an asshole, I appreciate you exposing me to that and helping improve my argument.
Well, like, no, the best way that, like, fuck, dude, the best way, like, yeah, I'm sorry about that, dude. That's like, I was trying to, like, make a point. But
it's all good, man. I debate for a living. This was good.
Everyone loves
Sweet,
a happy
yeah.
ending. Now kiss.
Well, I mean, like, was my, I guess,